Good morning to Professor. Today our group are going to present our assignment. The food product that we choose are beef patty. So this is the list for our group member. Beef is a popular ingredient in many food preparations worldwide, particularly in burger patty recipe. The quality parameter of beef burger patties deteriorates quickly and microbial occur, leading to a short shelf life. Hence, the processing step of the beef burger patty plays an important role. The industry need to always check the quality of beef in terms of monitoring the ingredient standards, confirm the supplier list, and always ensures that the industry is in the hygiene conditions to prevent the spoilage and contaminations of the beef burger patty.
For the product characteristic, the first is product name is beef burger patty, and the product characteristic is the beef patty is prepared to a final weight of 150 gram with a wax paper in between and packed in a plastic packaging to be removed for cooking. And this product is intended for cooking. And the packaging we use is the primary and secondary packaging, which is the primary packaging is PET plus LDPE packaging, and the secondary packaging is cardboard shipper. And for the shelf life and temperature, our product is not a shelf life stable. So this product need to keep refrigerated for 7 days at under than 4 degrees Celsius, or we keep this product at frozen for 180 days at negative 18 degrees Celsius. So, where will be the product sold? The product will be sold to the household consumer through retail outlet or distributed to hotel, restaurant, and institution. And for the labeling instruction, the labeling have is the product name, handling statement, network statement, ingredient statement, address line, nutrition fact, self-handling instruction, validated cooking instruction for needle and blade tenderized product. And this product need a special distributing control required, which is the product must be kept at negative 18 degrees Celsius. And this product ingredient list is we use beef meat, water, vegetable protein product, salt, sugar, sodium phosphate, white pepper, egg, onion, and garlic. And for the non-meat ingredient is vegetable protein product, phosphate, spice, and seasoning. And the restricted ingredient and allergen is soy protein and egg.
So, for the processing flow, for the raw materials that will be used for the burger patty is the raw beef, vegetable protein product, salt and sugar, sodium phosphates, white pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder, as well as water. For the raw beef, after receiving it, we will be sorting it and then storing it before using it for the initial grinding. For the dried raw materials, we would, after receiving it, we would store before using it for the processing process. And for the water, we will be using only filtered water. All of the raw materials will then be mixed and used for the final grinding. And the raw materials that is mixed would then be portioned out and shipped into burger patties. The burger patties would then be packaged and labeled accordingly. And the finished product, which is the burger patty, would then be stored in cold storage and ready for distribution.
My name is Not Shaira binti Muhammad Al-Azadi. I would like to proceed the presentation about identify the problem to each of the raw material in the ground beef patties. So for the raw material in the ground beef patties, it contains beef meat, water, vegetable protein product, salt, sugar, sodium phosphate, white pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. The problem occur at the raw material in the beef meat is the meat itself is not fresh and smelly. Next is water. The water is in the production maybe in the cloudy state. And then for the dry ingredient, the ingredient have broken on the package. Beside that, it also has dark spot or insects inside the packaging. So the dry ingredient become clumping together. Next is problem for the raw material in terms of quality and safety. For the beef meat, it is potential hazard in terms of biological because it contains salmonella. So it is rational for inclusion because it is harmful, and beef meat it is significant hazard, and the measure that can be applied to control this significant hazard is by freezing, and beef meat is sensitive material. Next is water. For the water, it is a potential hazard in terms of microbiological and physical. For microbiological, it is contain E. coli, and for the physical, it contains sediment like soil. And it is rational for the inclusion because it is harmful due to the and sediment. So water is significant hazard, and the measure that can be applied to control this significant hazard is by filtration and UV lamp. And water is a sensitive material during the production. Next is vegetable protein product. It is only chemical hazard, and it is exclusion which is by follow SOP from the supplier, and it is not significant hazard, and the measure that can be controlled is by check the color during the receiving, and it is not sensitive material. For the soap, the potential hazard only include for the physical, which is foreign matter, and the rationale is for the hazard is exclusion because it can follow LOC from the supplier, and it is not significant hazard, and there is no measure to control the significant hazard, and soap is not sensitive material. Next is sugar. Sugar it is not significant hazard during the production of brown patties. Sodium phosphate, white pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder also not a significant hazard in terms of quality. Then for the beef meat, it should be stored in the freezer because the beef meat can be smelly due to the improper storage. This is because due to the improper storage, the color of fresh red beef meat can turn to grayish brown due to myoglobin react with the low oxygen. So that beef meat can contain with the bacteria and easily to spoilage. So beef meat should be stored and keep at below 18 Celsius. While for the water, it is significant hazard because during the production of the food product, water should be filtered with the filter membrane because it can filter the soil and other sediment. This is because water used as an ingredient in a food product, especially in the beef patties. It should be must free from the unfavorable taste, color, odor, and impurities. So, the quality of water can be checked on the filter membrane and UV vis lamp.
Next, I will present about identify process steps require quality control activity. Number 1 is receiving raw beef. Meat temperature will be checked minimum for 5 boxes using thermometer between product pieces. Visual examination of all incoming exposed meat for the presence of visual contamination. Number 2 is receiving raw materials. Raw materials received must be free from leaks, broken package, and free from frost. Number 3 is storage of raw beef before processing. The beef is often held at -18 degrees Celsius for a considerable time before being used. Number 4 is storage of dry raw materials. Example, vegetable protein products, salts, sugar, sodium phosphate, white pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. Dry raw materials should be kept at 21 degrees Celsius, a moisture-free environment, and must be kept away from sunlight.
Activity. The next process is the initial grading. The raw meat will be visually inspected for bones or foreign matters. The temperature will be measured which should not exceed 5 degrees Celsius. Next process is the portioning and shaping. Size and thickness of the meat need to be uniform in the range of 5 mm to 10 mm. The temperature control SOP for production at room temperature and store in -3 to -1 degrees Celsius for the purpose of removing the meat from the molds neatly is required. Besides that, the mold and the machine used to push the meat will be sanitized before and after each use. Next, the process is the packaging. For the packaging process, the monitoring will be done at least twice for each batch in each production day by the FBO. The product storage temperature need to be labeled on the packaging. Besides that, the allergen need to be monitored by the written allergen programs in the product. Then the next process is the finished product storage. The temperature of freezer to be monitored twice a day if manually or constantly if use alarm automatic system in below the -18 degrees Celsius. The parties will be monitored to store separately with the rest of the products. FBO or designing will be monitored at least once per day for the adequate separation of product in different freezer rooms or physically separate rack and shelf. That's all from me. Now I will pass the presentation to the next presenter.
When receiving and sorting the raw beef, we must make sure that the color, textures, and smell are all in good condition due to the biological hazard. To control this significant hazard, we must observe the color of the meat and smell the meat. Besides that, we can also check the textures and freshness of the meat. We need to check the ground beef by conducting a touch test to ensure that the fresh beef that is received should have firm consistency that break apart when squeezed. Otherwise, if the raw beef is sticky and has a slimy texture, it indicates that the raw beef has the presence of spoilage bacteria. Thus, as a quality control officer, we need to reject it as the appearance of the food is unacceptable and not necessary to proceed with other steps because it can contaminate with other ingredients. Aside from that, we also must request an invoice and material specifications from the supplier, especially if the materials are obtained from multiple sources. Next, we must ensure that the freezer's temperature is -18 degrees Celsius during the storage of raw beef and finished product. This because the shelf life of meat and meat product is the amount of times that food can be stored while retaining its qualitative features until spoilage occurs. The shelf life of beef patties is intimately linked to their deteriorations, resulting in a line between an acceptable and unacceptable bacterial concentrations. Furthermore, the freezer should be cleansed regularly to avoid bacterial contaminations. We must also ensure that the raw materials and finished product are kept separate to avoid contaminations. When receiving and storage of dry raw material, we must have a procedure to protect ingredients from pests and environmental contaminations. Besides that, we need to have a written incoming procedure SOP, include the procedure used to examine the materials, log from supplier describing the quality control and prevention procedure. Besides that, we also need to check the package of the dry raw materials, whether it's leaking or not. If it is leaking, we must not accept these raw materials from the supplier. During the grinding and mixing of raw ingredients, we must use different color of chopping board for each grinding process to prevent the contaminations. Besides, we must ensure that the temperature of the ingredient is appropriate during the mixing process to prevent the growth of pathogens. We also need to have a metal detector to prevent the physical hazards occur in our product. When portioning and shaping the beef burger patty, we must make sure that we are work in a small batch to prevent the raw ingredients was in the danger zone. Besides that, we also need to apply the good manufacturing practice during this process. To prevent the biological hazard, we must make sure that the employee follows the good manufacturing practice and the finished product is not placed on the floor during the packaging process. This process should be take place on the table. During the storage process, we must apply good manufacturing practice and make sure that the finished product are stored at temperatures below 18 degrees Celsius before distribute to prevent the biological hazard. During the distribute process, the truck used to distribute the beef patty should be keep it in a good conditions in terms of temperature. Hence, the truck temperature should be below negative 18 degrees Celsius. This is because the outside temperature of the truck is exceed 25 degrees and it will cause the product to spoil and lose its characteristic. Last but not least, employee should always look at the color and smell of the odor of product throughout the process to make sure that the qualities of the beef burger patties. So now I will pass to my friends to explain the traceability system. Thank you.
Okay, next the traceability. Okay, next is this traceability system. It is used to give consumers some exposure to how every operation works throughout the process. It covers production, processing, and distribution chains of food items and ingredients. It also helps government authorities, food producers, and distributors to quickly identify the potential sources of contamination in any event of foodborne illness. These are the problem, possible causes, and solution. The first problem is the raw materials received are from unapproved suppliers. This is done due to no checking done prior. The solution for this problem is to not use them unless they are primary products that will be cooked thoroughly in later process, or maybe search for other alternatives. The second problem is the meat temperature. It is received at more than 5 degrees Celsius. This is due to no checking prior and also temperature change during transportation. The solution for this problem is to return the product as it is not safe to use. The third problem that may arise is the raw materials are received in a damaged box or packaging. This is due to few problems that occurs during transferring materials, and also maybe the raw materials are not arranged properly. To solve this, check the product whether it is still safe to use and return if necessary. The fourth problem is clumping in dry raw materials. This happens because it is kept in an unsuitable temperature or condition. As we know, dry raw materials need to be kept in dry storage area where the temperature is around 21 degrees Celsius. The dry raw materials also should be kept away from sunlight, as sunlight can promote bacterial growth by providing light and warmth. The fifth problem is uneven shapes and sizes of patties. This is because no SOPs are followed or provided. SOPs should be provided to set up requirements that need to be followed throughout the process, especially the portioning and shaping process. The next problem is visible contamination in raw materials received. This is because pest and microbial contamination and also disruption during transportation. The solution for this problem is to remove the contamination if possible and return if necessary.
So, the problem after that is poor binding of beef patty. There are three possible causes, which is mean size of the meat are too large. So typically, the solution before being formed, burger should be minced through a 5 mm plate. Then the possible causes might be because inadequate functional meat. So the solution is you can mix with some plank, shoulder, belly lean beef. Keep in mind that 80% of meat burger must be identifiable. Then it is because of the phosphate not being used. Phosphate should be used because it can help binding properties, especially in budget burger. Phosphate helps salt work more efficiently, resulting in a stickier mixture. The next problem in burger patty are burgers are rubbery. So this is because of the excessive mixings. So it is crucial to keep in mind how much work occur in the burger mixture during mixing, chopping, shaping process. The amount of mixing should be evenly distributed freshly added ingredient to avoid creating a sticky mess, and it should be mechanically chopped or minced to the thickness of 10 mm because it can hold the mixture together. And too much pressure should not be used during the molding process. The next possible cause because of the problem burger robberies are high production temperature. So should be used semi-frozen meat for combining or cutting, and water should be mixed with the ice before being added. And pre-hydrated ingredient should be hydrated in a refrigerator. After that, the problem is color loss. They have a lot of possible causes such as product does not have preservative colors. So the solution is antioxidant. A preservative should be used because it will affect the color. Burger will look better with color added. Look for any of these additions in seasoning. Then lack of water. If there is less air as there is between stack of hamburger, the meat tend to lose its red color and turn dull. And it might be because of the presence of fresh and kibbles onion. So use a spice that contain onion powder to help with this issue. And freezer burned because of freezer burnt. Without plastic packaging, frozen goods are more likely to dry out and turn brown. So the product should be safeguarded as required. Lastly, nitrate contamination. Nitrate contamination happen because during curing process, uh, when the burgers have when cooked, burgers have pink colors. So make sure the cleanness and dryness of all equipment, and it is advised to watch any suspected nitrate contaminated equipment in a 2% solution of ascorbic acid or sodium ascorbate. And maybe because of the water loss, cooking water loss is typically accompanied by fat spitting. If the water is not properly included in the mixture, the burger loses water. So use superfine rust, it will absorb the extra water. And because of the high lean meat content, such burger are more likely to distort even if they may not necessarily shrink when cooked. So the burger mixture can be adjusted by through the 5 mm plate after mixing or before forming. In conclusion, quality control procedures are crucial in the chain of food production from farm to table. There are two main things that decide the quality of product, which are raw materials and process steps. For instance, to ensure that the burger patties are high quality, the food sector must constantly monitor ingredient standards, confirm supply lists, and ensure that the manufacturing facility is always in hygienic condition. That's all from us. Thank you.